What's up, Alejandro? Quick demo video for you for your Crimson Lord. This thing is massive. I originally had thought that this was the Crimson Menace by Corbanth. I actually have two of those here to do and had grabbed yours first to model a chassis. And no, uh, I found out this was in fact made by Dennis Lukyanov. This is slightly different. It's a little bit bigger. The sound venting is different, and there are all the switches are different as well. But anyways, you have the one from Dennis Lukyanov. I know that you weren't sure which one you bought because you bought this second hand. We're going to do our best to get through this demo. I've only got one battery right now. I've got a bunch of batteries that I bought probably about 5 weeks ago, and they've been on back order, and I'm not sure when they'll get here. And this Saber takes two batteries. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to demo one side for you. We'll take the chassis out, we'll put the battery in the other side, and I'll demo the other side so you can see that it works. I just unfortunately don't have two batteries to demo both sides of this at the same time right now, so I apologize for that. But we'll get through it. Okay, this installed with two Proffies. So there's a blade on both sides, right? So you got your main one right here, and then you've got a blade also that comes out right here. And how you get to the chassis is the opposite side that has the claws. So this guy right here, you want to unscrew this. And you'll take this out, and it's got your main pixel PCB right there, that lit connector, and then it's got its own blade side PCB right here. And then you'll see that, but you're not going to be able to grab it from there. You need to come over here on this side with your finger and very carefully push this chassis out a little bit, but do not press on the pins if you can help it. You don't want to do that. That chassis will pop out about that far, and then you can go ahead and you can pull it the rest of the way out, and then that's how it comes out. So you got one side of this chassis that's got this 7-pin connector that connects to this blade side PCB right here, and that lights up that side of the blade. And then on the other side, you actually have your stock V3 MPXL sitting right here that lights up the blade on the other side where the claws are at. I had a lot of trouble with this Saber initially. I had done this chassis late at night. I was tired, and I knew better than to do that. But I wanted to get these chassis on the printer so that I could work on it the next day. They printed overnight. I got it all the way to this part right here. It was all installed. And then I realized when I went to go put it in the Saber to test it, I had the switches on the wrong chassis, and I had the 7-pin connector and this NeoPixel PCB. I had those switched. I was super bummed, man. I had to go back, make those changes, and I had to print these chassis overnight again last night, but then I got it done this morning. I printed these chassis yesterday, did some work to them, and then I wrapped it up this morning. But you've got your two Proffie boards right here, so they're back to back. They are just a tight press fit down into this shelf, so if you want to get to your SD card, you just take a pair of tweezers and you could pop this board up like that, and then pop this board up like that, and do what you need to do, and then snap them back down into place. And that's how I like to make those there. You do have two switches right here. You can see those in the light, two tactile switches, one here and one here, and then you've got that the same over here on the opposite side, right here, right? One set controls one board, and then obviously the other set on the other side controls the other board, and I'll show you how we do that here in a minute. You've got two 28 Smugglers Outpost Elite speakers in here, and I made them facing opposite directions. So you've got one right here, and then you flip it around, and this one's facing over here on the other side. I made these two chassis. They have a little bit of a mechanism here in the middle where they lock together, but then I had to glue them together to make sure that they stayed that way. My printer is not big enough to print this all in one go. This is just under 11.5 inches or so. I think my printer maxes out at about 11.25 or about 11, but it was just big enough where I couldn't do it all in one swing. But we got this done. Looks pretty good. I did not go for some extra things on the chassis. This was purely for function. So I wanted to make sure that I got all of these switches lined up properly. My grooves here in the chassis that you can see that's running all the way down. My speaker placement, my board placement. You got your two two removable battery slots here, your spring side there, your negative side of your battery, they're on opposite sides. I was so focused on making sure that everything fit in the chassis, or I'm sorry, inside the Sabre. I didn't do much for, you know, on the outside. So this is just a solid eco chassis for this Dennis Lukyanov Crimson Lord. All right. So first off, we're going to test. We will test the side that's actually got the stock PCBs in it. So we're going to throw a battery in here. It does have motion control. So you see that. We're going to twist that off. We're actually going to put it inside the Sabre. So we'll put it in the Sabre. We'll test one side. We'll take it out. We'll put the battery in the other side, and we'll test that side. So when you're sliding this in, obviously, this pixel PCB, it goes towards the claw side, because on your Sabre, when you look at these greeblies, you've got this red one that doesn't do anything, but this silver one on both sides, that is your auxiliary and your activation, both here and over here. So the switches, of course, on your chassis are over here on one side, right? So we want to make sure that we line that up properly. Those grooves line up with the switches, so this chassis only goes in one way. If you try to put it in where the grooves aren't aligned, this chassis is not going to slide in for you. It is a little bit of a tight fit, so just go ahead and push it in there. It's no biggie. And we'll go ahead and we'll put this on the other side and we'll lock it down. Make sure that you've pushed your chassis in all the way. That way the pins aren't getting stressed out. You've already done all the work, and then this is just engaging the pins rather than pushing everything forward. You don't want to stress the pins that way. All right, this chassis was designed in a fashion where these pins just touch that blade PCB and makes contact, so everything works the way that it should. All right, so we come over here. For the claw side, your switches are actually on the side with the big claw. So down here be your activation.
What could you give me? Everything.
Down here is your auxiliary. So activation here, auxiliary here. Just like that. We'll put a blade in here. This takes a 1-inch diameter NeoPixel blade. Hit activation down here.
What could you give me? Everything.
Auxiliary for blaster deflex. If you hit the Sabre, you get blade lockup until you pull away from it, and then you could tap the power to turn it off. Or you could just swing this bad boy on. Be careful though, because it's huge. It's like that. And we'll take your blade out. Blade socket's super tight. So when we go to take this back out, we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll unscrew this guy right here. Just like that. We'll take this off to the side and come over here. We want to press down on the inside emitter piece, but do not press down on the pins. You're just pressing down. You're just pressing back just enough where that chassis slides out the back just a little bit, and you can come over here and you can pull it right out, just like that. And then we'll take the battery out of one side. We'll do it on camera, right? Take the battery out of one side, flip it around, spring side your negative, and we'll put it back here on the other side. Just like that. So now we're going to test out the opposite side of the claws, right? It doesn't matter which switches go to which buttons. You can put it in either way. I just know it's a little bit of a snug fit. Those switches are very low profile, and the tactile switches are very low profile, and there's very little travel on these guys. So I wanted to make sure everything was butted up against each other and it was good to go and there was no slack. So once we put this on, we'll put it on like this. Now once you're screwing this on, you don't need to mash it down. Just screw it down till you feel it get tight, and then you're good to go. Just like that. Now if I come over here and hit activation,
what could you give me? Everything.
Now that side's working with your blade side PCB. Tap for auxiliary. Turn it off, and now we'll put a blade in over here too. So now we got the blade in this side. Come over here and hit activation.
What could you give me?
Everything.
Now you got that side firing up. Just tap an auxiliary for blaster deflex. Blade lock up. Twist off. Or you could swing on. Just like that, and then we'll take the blade out. I'm just going to go ahead and take the entire emitter piece off because this blade is in here pretty tight. One thing I did for both sides is I made, let me get this off and I'll show you. I made the buttons up here next to the emitter. They're both power for both sides, and then slide down here, you know, right here and right here. These are both of the auxiliary switches for both sides. Okay, so we'll come over here and we'll push on our PCB again. Just pull it out. So there's motion controls in here, and they might go off on you, but that's just part of it. It's okay. You can just twist them right off. Come over here by the power, the positive side of the battery, and you can just pop it right out with your finger, just like that. The batteries are tight, but not so tight that you can't get out with your finger. And yeah, that's pretty much your saber. I know this thing is a beast. Sorry that I didn't have two batteries to show it off at the same time. It's kind of awkward. And as my buddy Lando pointed out, yes, this thing does not even fit in my photo booth. So when I posted pictures of this thing being done, it looked kind of silly. But yeah, man, that's your saber. Let me know if you got any questions. I will be taking the claw off, all three of these claws off before shipment, just to make it easier to ship to you. And then yeah, they're pretty easy to put back on. But yeah, let me know if you got any questions. If not, we'll try to get this out in the mail to you tomorrow. Thanks.